Thank you for joining us today. We're excited you're here to meet the author of today's book. Welcome to Digital Book Nook's Meet the Author show, where you can discover your next great book. With your host, D.G. Thomas. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to Digital Book Nook's Meet the Author show. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest author today. How can a physician who is burnt out and depressed provide whole patient or patient-centered care? Our guest author today, who is also an emergency medicine physician, has worked on the front line in the hospital caring for COVID-19 patients and has the answer to this question in his new book, Fully Alive, Experiencing the 5 Pillars of Wholeness. Dr. Ademola Adewale is a practicing emergency medicine physician with over 20 years' experience on the front line. He is an educator, researcher, expert in medical simulation, author, speaker, and an avid proponent of wellness among medical residents. He was the co-founder of the Emergency Medicine Residency Program at Advent Health, East Orlando, and served as the Associate Assistant Program Director, Research Director, and Simulation Director. He is a highly respected physician, leader, and speaker who is the past Chief of Staff at Advent Health, East Orlando, and currently serves as the Secretary-Treasurer of the medical staff at Advent Health Central Florida Division. He was just elected president-elect of the medical staff. He is an avid proponent of men's health and wellness and founder of Platinum Men's Health and Wellness located in Orlando, Florida. Dr. Adewale is involved with several community organizations and currently serves as the president of the board of directors at Harbor House of Central Florida. Dr. Adewale obtained his medical degree from Howard University College of Medicine in Washington, D.C., and his advanced training in emergency medicine at Drexel. And today he will be talking with us about his book, Fully Alive, Experiencing the 5 Pillars of Wholeness. Hello, Dr. Adewale. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Dee. And let me say one thing, is Dr. Adewale.
Adewale, I'm so sorry. I'm just butchering your name. I apologize, Dr. Adewale.
Correct.
I thought I had it right.
Well, thank you for trying, though.
Oh, okay.
Now and then is a tongue twister, so.
Oh, I know my name gets messed up sometimes too, but it's okay. So, all right. So, I hear about burnout in healthcare. Can you give us a quick insight into how bad it really is?
Well, prior to the arrival of COVID, a lot of healthcare providers, both doctors, nurses, PAs, were all burned out or edging towards burnout. And the reason why that was occurring is the fact that the constant challenges and demand of the field itself and the bureaucratic, quagmire that we constantly deals with that tend to affect or influence the way you practice your art itself. And trying to balance that and juggle that with your life itself creates a problem. And that's why some doctors actually suffer from anxiety, some suffer from mild depression, or what I call colloquial depression, and some actually about to be burned out to the extent that a doctor commits suicide on every day. So all these things compounded together is what's leading to burnout. Unfortunately, the idea of using the word mental health crisis in healthcare has been a taboo for so many years until recently that we started bringing it to notoriety and everybody's not talking about it.
Okay. So how did working on the front line in COVID affect you personally?
So, like I said earlier, a lot of healthcare providers were teetering on the edge of burnout and some severe anxiety. And I was one of those healthcare providers. I wasn't depressed, but I was struggling through mental exhaustion from all the changes and dynamics of healthcare itself that I was about to walk away. Then when COVID-19 arrived, it was like adding gasoline to a, should I say, a festering wildfire.
Right.
And that kind of accelerated all the undertone of burnout or close to depression that everybody was feeling. And I was feeling that. And after seeing so much suffering early in the game where we had no cure or treatment per se for COVID patients, I was mentally exhausted. I was suffering from colloquial depression, which is different from depression in the sense that colloquial depression deals with you just not liking your job, hating being at that environment. You just want to get out of the environment, but you can't because you have lives to save and lives to work on. So when you leave that environment, though, your outside life is fine. You're not depressed outside of your work, but at the work itself, it was very depressive, and that's what colloquial depression means. So what happened is it impacted me significantly that I was about to walk away from the field entirely. I lost passion and meaning in medicine, and I was about to be out. However, deep within me, there was a slight sliver of hope that encourages me not to walk away and find a way to seek meaning and joy in medicine again. And that's how I embarked on my journey to rediscover myself.
Okay. So do you think the stress and the burnout and the depression, has that affected you on a long-term basis or even other healthcare providers?
Well, for me personally, I am mentally strong and I have a very solid background as it relates to being able to deal with whatever punches that's thrown at me. In this situation, though, this is something that is extremely unique. And I was fortunate that instead of allowing myself to succumb to the stress and the urge to spiral into deep depression, I was able to channel my inner strength to figure out how to get my way out of this rut to prevent myself from getting into deep depression. So part of my ways of trying to accomplish that is for me to seek for ways to get myself better, to get myself mentally strong for this current situation, and to allow myself to be able to overcome what's about to overwhelm me. And as I was doing that research, I kind of, should I say, discovered what I refer to as my 5 pillars of wholeness. And what I did was actually apply that to my life for about 6 months and to see what kind of impact it has on me. And what I realized was the outcome was very transformative, that I find joy and passion in medicine again. I have the intestinal fortitude to be able to take care of these patients without allowing me to impact me psychologically, mentally. And also, I rescued myself from going from a state of colloquial depression to spiraling down into deep depression. So the 5 pillars was instrumental in turning my life around and preventing me from going that route to the, because some doctors right now and healthcare providers actually walked away from the field entirely. Some fell into deep depression, and some are currently suffering in silence with post-traumatic stress disorder from witnessing so many deaths and suffering from COVID anxiety syndrome, COVID fatigue syndrome, and now we're talking about compassion fatigue. And when you put all this together, it overwhelms the psyche itself. And you have a lot of healthcare providers suffering to those right now.
Right. So you talk about the journey that you've been through and the work that you did on yourself to renew your passion. We're going to talk about those 5 pillars again, but do you want to talk a little bit about what you've been through yourself to renew your interest and your passion in the medical field?
Yes. So what I had to do is this, before I even began that journey, I realized that it's important to do self-inventory. And introspectively, I wrote down things that are important to me that I think will impact my journey. Because it does not make any sense to start a journey and not have a goal. So I knew where I was going. I knew I want to have a renewed energy and passion for medicine again. I know I want to rescue myself from the current state I was at the time of colloquial depression, mental exhaustion, and severe burnout. So that's the end goal. How do I prevent myself from staying in that state? So as I embarked on the journey, I realized that the stress that I was dealing with at that time, number one, I wasn't sleeping at night
Mm.
because every time I closed my eyes, I had nightmares. I saw myself on ventilator
Wow.
dying from COVID and
Okay.
not be able to say my final goodbyes to my family, my wife, and my children. And this I see every day for a whole year. So for a whole year, I wasn't sleeping. I started snapping on my kids. Every little thing just ticks me off until my wife said to me, "What's really going on? Because you're not who you really are." That was shocking to me, you know. So what I end up doing is saying that, okay, the first step is this. I understand from my research that sleep is one of the most fundamental necessity for you to have a balanced emotional well-being. So I identified that. So I said, what do I need to do to sleep well at night? So I realized that when I come home from work, I'm stressed out. I sit on the sofa with my laptop on my lap, turn the TV on. I'm not engaging the kids or my wife or anybody else. I'm just there staring at the computer and the TV was watching me. And before I realize it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, I'm just sitting there. Then I decide to go to bed. So I go to bed like midnight. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's like you barely slept. So what happened in the morning is you fatigue and you have anxiety and your temper is very short. So what I then did was I have to change my routine around. I said I need to develop a sleep routine. I have to be in bed by 9 o'clock every night. That if I go to bed at 9 o'clock every night, if I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, I've slept 7.5 hours. That's much better than the 4 hours I was sleeping. And when I did that for a couple of weeks, oh my gosh, every morning I had a renewed energy. I have a renewed passion. When I'm driving to work, I'm not stressed. When I'm at work, I'm just energized. And people ask you, why are you so happy? Why are you just so, just, should I say, ebullient? And I tell them, well, I got my mojo back. I'm sleeping now, and
Right.
they look
Right.
at me like, how did you do that? Because we asked my colleague, they were like, oh, I only sleep 4 hours a night. I said, no, we got to change the narrative that
Mm.
it is my story. I want to take control of my story. And by taking control of that story, I identify one of the most important things that has to happen for me to begin that journey, which was sleep. And I started getting 7 to 8 hours sleep every night consistently. And I've been doing that now for about 8 months, and the outlook has been phenomenal.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. So, so tell us about your book. Tell us about who the best audience that you think could benefit from what you have to share in your book, and without giving away too much, but just what those 5 pillars are.
Yeah. So when I was writing the book, what I first did was, I'm a researcher. So I applied these pillars to myself and see what the outcome was. When I saw that outcome, I said to myself, wait a minute, I need to put this down and write this, that this might be a template for anyone out there. You don't have to be in healthcare that may be going through the motion, that's struggling with life balance, that's struggling with becoming whole, to have a purposeful life, struggling to be healthy, struggling to be emotionally stable, struggling to have a stable mental attitude, struggling to socially integrate, and some that's spiritually lacking. So anyone that may be struggling with any of these dynamics will definitely benefit from this book because those 5 pillars, which are physical wholeness, emotional wholeness, mental wholeness, social wholeness, and spiritual wholeness. And the spiritual wholeness is the core that binds each of these pillars together. You do not have to be a Christian or Muslim to be spiritually solid or grounded,
Mhm.
just like believing in something that's higher than yourself alone. That's what spirituality means when it comes to the book, because it transcends religion. So those are the 5 pillars. And when I apply those 5 pillars, I mean, the book goes into deep details of each of those pillars and how each of those pillars can apply to anyone out there. I mean, the first 3 chapters of the book talks about the quagmires we're dealing with in healthcare. Once you pass through that and start talking about the concept of whole patient care, then seeing how the 5 pillars can impact your life, then you realize that this book actually applies to everyone out there that may be going through the motions.
Right. Okay. So what do you think is the key message that you would like for readers to take away from this book?
The key message I would like readers to take away from this book, just from my message, I am fully alive.
Mm.
And the goal is for a reader that looks at those 5 pillars to realize that the journey to life balance and to wholeness is a continuous process. But this book can allow you to embark on your own journey to become whole, to have a life balance. Because we all struggle with life balance. I know I used to give seminars on work-life balance, but the more I researched that terminology, I realized that it's an oxymoron, that we should be talking in the context of life balance and trying to accommodate our work in our life. So if you're struggling with that and time management, this book would allow you to embark on your own journey. There's something for everyone in here to embark on your own journey to want to be whole. I mean, there's no one out there that would say, I do not want to be whole. I do not want to be balanced. I do not want to have a solid well-being state.
Right.
So if you're out there and you want to be whole, you want to feel like your well-being status is in top shape, then this book will allow you to embark on your own journey.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's so interesting. It's such a timely topic. It's so important for our healthcare providers, most definitely. And really anyone, it sounds to me like that's really experiencing burnout and needs some information on how to be renewed in their passion about their work, and to try to achieve something close to, I guess, life balance. But most definitely.
If I may add something,
Sure.
I did a podcast last week with educators, and I kid you not, the same thing we're going through in healthcare is parallel amongst our teachers, our educators, and they're going through the same thing. Every walks of life is going through the same thing because this last 2 years has changed our entire dynamics. And one way or the other, we're all struggling through how to adjust. And it's affecting our life and our work and everything around it.
It has. COVID-19 has affected all of us, and just in a different way, I think. It's just a different impact for individuals. Some people it's illness, death, financial, work related, but in some way, shape, or form, it has changed our world, really.
Exactly.
Well, I want to show your book here. This is the book, everybody. Go out and get it today. Get your copy. It's available on Amazon and Kindle. And then also you can go to the website. Let me pull it up here. The paperback is available at www.platinummenshealth.com. And you can get a paperback copy there if that's what you're interested in getting as well. So let's see. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee, for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. And it's been very interesting. And I really appreciate you coming out. And I'm sure that our listeners have learned quite a bit from you here today.
All right. Thank you very much, Dee.
Right,
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today. The book is available at Amazon and on the author's website. The link is below. And you can read more of our interview on Digital Book Nooks blog.